A king's paranoia has become a death sentence. A queen's ambition has led to her ruin. And a hero has just returned from a suicide mission more powerful than ever. The throne of Israel has never been closer to collapse. Saul's command is not just a test. It's a meticulously designed death trap, poisoned by Queen Ahinoam's whispers. Sending David to destroy a heavily guarded Philistine iron forge and slaughter 100 soldiers is a logistical and tactical impossibility, a fact Saul counts on. This mission is the physical manifestation of his crumbling mind, sacrificing Israel's military needs for his personal vendetta. We will witness David's preparation not as a triumphant montage, but as a somber gathering of desperate men. This is where David's leadership truly crystallizes. He cannot rely on brute force. He must rely on cunning, faith, and the loyalty of men who believe in his destiny more than they fear their king. The journey to the forge will be a tense, shadowy affair, showcasing David's evolution from a frontline warrior to a guerrilla commander. He uses the terrain, the cover of night, and precise, devastating strikes, turning the Philistines' own strength, their fortified position, into a trap. The destruction of the forge is not a glorious battle, but an act of strategic sabotage, a blaze that lights the night sky and signals the birth of a new kind of warfare in Israel. While David is away, Ahinoam believes she is consolidating her power, unaware she is weaving her own noose. She manipulates the court, isolating Jonathan and undermining any potential sympathy for David. She revels in what she assumes is David's impending death, seeing it as the final solution to her family's problems. Her conversations with the conflicted Merab are masterclasses in toxic ambition, as she twists a mother's love into a weapon of hate. The royal feast she orchestrates is meant to be a celebration of Saul's renewed power, but it becomes the stage for her downfall. Saul's behavior is increasingly erratic, his eyes glued to the doors, waiting for news of David's failure. When David instead returns, not only alive but triumphant, bearing the grisly trophies of 200 Philistines, the court erupts in praise that is a direct indictment of the king and queen. Saul's rage is not just at David's survival, but at his own humiliation. In a violent, shocking outburst, he turns on Ahinoam. He publicly denounces her, exposing her scheme and branding her the source of his shame. Her exile is not a quiet dismissal, it is a brutal emotional execution. Saul doesn't just banish his queen, he erases her, casting her out as the scapegoat for his own sins. A moment of profound cowardice that reveals the true depth of his moral decay. David's return creates a seismic shift in the kingdom's political landscape. He is no longer just a popular hero. He is a living legend who has defied both the Philistines and his own king and survived. The people's chants of his name are a direct challenge to Saul's authority. In this new reality, Jonathan's internal struggle reaches its climax. Witnessing his father's dishonorable act of banishing his own mother and the cold calculation behind David's suicide mission, Jonathan's last vestige of loyalty to Saul's reign snaps. His conversation with David after the triumph is not one of celebration, but of solemn pact. He finally, fully transfers his allegiance, understanding that his birthright is forfeit to God's anointed. Meanwhile, Merab is shattered by her mother's exile, her worldview crushed. This trauma forces her to see David not as a rival, but as a fixed point of integrity in a court of lies. Her warning to Michal about the illusions of happiness now rings hollow, as David's genuine love and unwavering resolve are the most real things in Gibeah. Michal, torn but resolute, now sees David's survival as a divine sign, strengthening her resolve to stand by him against her own family. The banishment of Ahinoam does not bring peace. It creates a power vacuum that new and more dangerous players are eager to fill. With the queen gone, the ambitious Joab sees a direct path to influence. He will intensify his pursuit of Michal, not out of affection, but as a cold-blooded strategy to marry into the royal family and position himself as Saul's new chief operative. Furthermore, King Achish of the Philistines, enraged by the destruction of his forge and the slaughter of his men, is no longer a background threat. He sees the internal rot in Israel and will launch a decisive campaign, not just to raid, but to conquer. He knows Saul is weakened, and he will march with a full army, believing the fractured kingdom is ripe for the taking. This external threat forces a horrifying dilemma upon Saul. He must now rely on the very man he just tried to murder to save his throne. He has to summon David, the nation's only proven effective commander, and beg him to lead the defense, a humiliation that will eat at his soul. The episode's final moments lay the groundwork for all-out war. David, standing before Saul, holds all the power. He has the people's love, the military's respect, Jonathan's allegiance, and now a righteous claim to Michal's hand. When he calmly reiterates his demand to marry her, it is not a request, it is a statement of fact. Saul, cornered and desperate, is forced to agree, but the look in his eyes is one of pure homicidal fury. This marriage will be the catalyst for the final break. The episode ends on two parallel scenes. David and Michal, finally united, but under the shadow of the throne, their love story now the central front in a coming civil war. And Saul, alone in his chamber, clutching his spear, his face a mask of insane rage as he whispers a vow to see David dead, by any means necessary. The peace is over. The war for the soul of Israel has begun, and the first battle was won not on a battlefield, but in the shattered remains of the king's own court.